Right at it. Right at it. Oh, he's done it again. Just as he did at the John Deere for his first win.
All righty. Welcome to the 8th episode of the Go Get That podcast. This is a special one. This is our first interview, first guest on the Go Get That pod. We have Keegan Rosenberry from the Colorado Rapids of the MLS joining us. He is ranked in the top 100 golfer athletes. He is known as a trick shot pro from his COVID days. And we really want to see firsthand, big time professional athlete, how that relates to golf. I'm sure a lot of you guys don't just watch golf, so you'll probably be very interested to see how, even for some of you guys who play sports, how it relates to the golfing world and how it isn't similar. So it was a blast. We had a lot of fun with him. He was super generous to give us almost 70 minutes, a little over 70 minutes of his time, which is crazy. So thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Jordan, I know he followed you, so you were able to get him on. I know that was pretty cool.
It was a great time. Just Keegan's a class act.
Absolutely.
You hear a lot about professional athletes just not being as genuine. Keegan's the exact opposite. It was a heck of a time. Just very generous of him. I mean, he's in season right now. He could be working, he could be with his family, but no, he decided to spend 70 minutes with the three of us. He just played a game 2 nights ago. I mean, just 100% class act.
Yeah, super passionate too. Like he wanted to be here. And
exactly.
You could hear that in his voice, and you know, the way the conversation went. So that was really fun. And he's got 3 new fans for sure.
Yeah. More importantly, let us know if you guys want to see more of this. I know we have a few guests lined up right now, which we're excited about. We love talking golf, but we especially love talking golf with other people, because obviously the more people, the more points are added. But I mean, he was awesome. He was everything we could have hoped for. He added a lot of input. He knew his golf, and he just it's cool to see. He's obviously, his mind works differently than ours do, because that's his job. His job is being a professional athlete. Just, you can tell when he talked, the competitiveness in him, it was awesome to see. It was really cool experience. And I think you guys will really enjoy it. If you're sports fans, not just golf fans. So yeah.
Hearing from a professional athlete it's when you hear them talk, it's definitely something you want to listen to.
Absolutely.
They think way differently than we do.
Yeah, it's surreal too. Just like, again, as we talked about on the episode, we're just 3 average Joes talking for you guys. But this guy's a guy you want to listen to. If you don't want to listen to us, listen to him. So he's the expert. So
for sure.
Yeah. Without further ado, our first guest, Keegan Rosenberry.
The 3 of us are more than excited to welcome our first guest to the podcast. Today, we are joined with professional soccer player Keegan Rosenberry. Keegan currently plays for the Colorado Rapids of the MLS, who currently sit in 3rd place in the Western Conference of the MLS standings. Keegan starts defensively for the Rapids, and prior to being drafted to the MLS, he played his college soccer at Georgetown. Without any further introduction, welcome to the Go Get That podcast, Keegan.
Thank you, guys. Excited to be on.
Awesome. Well, we're really happy to have you. So my first question to you is, I know it's pretty cliche, but what is it like to be a pro athlete? No offense to the golfers that we track on the PGA Tour, but as an MLS player, you guys travel a lot more frequently than the average PGA Tour player. Again, no offense to them, but a sport that requires much more stamina and athleticism like soccer, in my opinion. You guys spend nights in hotel rooms. You guys can take multiple planes a week. What's it like, your life?
First of all, you won't hear me complaining about any of those aspects of being a professional athlete. Obviously, super lucky, so blessed. So, all the opportunities I've been given, the abilities I have, genetically from my parents, things like that, I'm super thankful for. So I always like to talk about that kind of stuff first. I've been relatively healthy in my career, but it is a lot of travel. I wouldn't say, from my experience, watching golf and learning more and more about golf as a fan, as an amateur, as a player, whatever, those guys do travel quite a bit. I mean, we can travel, across the country for a midweek game or something like that. But I mean, these guys, if they're playing back-to-back weekends, or, like Victor Hovland driving up and down the East Coast middle of last year, to play all these tournaments. I mean, I feel like they do travel quite a bit, which I don't think people sometimes understand. But the other thing you mentioned, I would say the stamina piece and the aerobic exercise is definitely a lot more taxing, a lot more demanding. I think the difficulty of soccer is up there, like with other sports, just because it combines the two technical and physical attributes. I think a lot of people that don't know the game of golf will say that there's absolutely zero physical demand. I don't think that's true, but I do think it's lesser. People to go out and carry a bag for 18 holes have no idea. And then to be able to, breathe lightly, hit a good shot, and make a good decision is really, really difficult. And people don't get that. But like I said, I have zero complaints. It's pretty much been a dream my whole life. I've been working for it my whole life, and been pretty fortunate to have a good career so far, and hopefully can make it go as long as I can.
So what does your recovery process look like after a game? Like, is it a lot of ice baths or just stretching, or?
It can kind of vary. The most important time for recovery is when we'll play multiple games in a week. So normally we're like every Saturday, you get pretty much 6 days of full recovery. So you have next day you'll do a recovery session, which is maybe a bike and a light jog, maybe a stretch. And then usually the second day after a game you have off, and then you have 5 days of training leading up to the game. But if we play like Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, that becomes really, really tough. Because they always talk about your body feeling the worst 2 days after the competition or like a match. And so like immediately the 2 days in between the Wednesday and Saturday game are like shot. So the next day will be a recovery session. The second day after is usually your body feels worse and is off. And then all of a sudden the game's on Saturday. So it does come quick, but like I said, I've been pretty fortunate to stay healthy and not have too many little nagging injuries. So it's not too intensive, but those 3 games in a week make it pretty difficult for sure.
Yeah, because I feel like for golf, what they tell us is that they just take time off and they just have to reset their minds and kind of their mental feelings, I guess, because golf is just so taxing. Do you feel like you also have to do a lot of mental kind of resetting after games, or it's more just physical work?
I think some players do. I think it definitely varies, even within our locker room. I'm somebody that pretty much needs, I don't know, 10 to 30 minutes after the game. Let me think about it. Let me stew on it a little bit, as my dad would say. But I don't like to dwell on it. You can't change it. It's not going to help anything thinking about it any more than I think Tiger, another golfer, said he uses like the first 10 steps after a bad shot. He'll think about it. He'll, say his swear words, get it out of his head. And then when those 10 steps are over, he's got to think about the next one and just completely have it, out of his mind, which I think is right. I think any professional athlete, any performance-based job, you have to have a short-term memory. I think a lot of different athletes talk about that. So, I think golf is way more mental. I've always thought that, and I don't think the standard amateur understands that until you get into like a professional pressure situation. But also, like, golf is just your action on the ball, right. Still set shot every time. It's basically like taking a PK in soccer, like every single shot, and everyone's staring at you while you're doing it. I mean, it's really, I feel like it's really hard to put into layman's terms for people to get into that headspace. But I think that's why I might recover more mental recovery for golf than soccer is all I'm saying, I guess.
So I have a question about first of all, you went to Georgetown. I'm a massive Georgetown basketball fan. So I was very excited to hear that. What's it like in terms of your, like, what you did in college compared to how you, like, prepare as a pro? Like, does that change at all, or is it basically the same?
More like game by game basis, you mean?
Yeah.
Or just like the
Just
daily
like
process and
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah. Like the daily.
So going to a school like Georgetown, I thought school was really difficult, like the schoolwork part of it,
Yeah.
the student part of it. And so I thought, it sounds insane, but the demand for time and responsibility and maybe even socially, like in college, you're trying to like, everybody talks about being the best time of their life. You're also trying to have a social life while being a Division I athlete and going to school and like not failing clearly to stay on the team. So, and I say that because I wasn't a guy that was like working my ass off to get really good grades. I was just really trying to stay, keep my head above water kind of a thing. So,
Yeah.
So I thought time wise and focus wise, it was so much easier when I made it to be a professional because it was just soccer. I was fortunate enough to graduate before the draft, a semester early in preparation for that. But like having to do both and like I said, time for other stuff, like it gets to be a lot, and you can understand why people go through, issues and quit sports at some point along the line before making it. So, but in terms of I guess the sport, the preparation there's a little bit more that goes into details wise and scouting with the team and just almost like analytically and tactically. There's a lot more of that kind of preparation and talk than there is in college, which I think is just again, it could just be a time thing. I mean, if you don't have enough time to really look into things like tendencies of opposing players and things like, like our assistant coaches probably had other responsibilities too. Maybe they're taking classes at night or they have another job or something like that. So,
yeah. And one other thing,
go ahead.
Yeah. So just one other thing to follow that up is like, so after college, obviously you got drafted. You were drafted pretty high, I think third. You guys said, right? Third. What was that like? Because obviously in golf, there isn't really anything like draft night with other sports. The closest thing you could probably think of was getting your tour card, but even then, you like know what's going on as you're going for that. So what was it like? Just like I've always thought draft night's really cool. Any sport. What was it like? Just like getting that call? Not only that, but like, did you expect to go that high? Do you expect to go higher, lower? What was your?
So yeah, it is interesting because there's really nothing like that in golf. But compared to other American sports, the MLS draft is very, very watered down. It's not nearly the production. It's not nearly the amount of manpower. It's not nearly the amount of money at the end of the day is what the other leagues have, because our league is 25, 26 years old now compared to all these other American sports that have been around since, forever. But at the end of the day, it was still a draft. There were still people there. I still got called up on stage, still shook the commissioner's hand, talked a little bit. So there was still definitely an excitement and a buzz that I think I'll always say is, I don't know, top 5 days of my life, which it was definitely pretty cool. But we also have a combine, just like I guess most similarly to the NFL combine, but it's not just like test and results driven. You basically you'll do a vertical leap, you'll do a 5-10-5, and you'll do like a 30-meter test.
Yeah.
And other than that, you just get split into 4 teams, and it's like the top, I don't know, 65 seniors in Division I or in college soccer, and then it's also maybe some younger kids that get offered like a special contract to leave early. And you just play like 3 pickup games. And so going into the combine, I was a well-regarded senior player that could probably perform in the MLS. I went to a couple teams during the summer to train with teams just to try and get in front of some coaches. But because of my performance at the combine, I think I really helped myself physically with the tests. I did really well, and I played pretty well in the games. Didn't really make any mistakes. Wasn't like incredible, but didn't make any mistakes. And I think it really drove up my draft stock.
Yeah.
I also grew up playing in Philadelphia a little bit with the academy. So they were super familiar with me, but they had the 2nd and the 6th pick in that draft. So right before the draft started, they then traded and they had 2, 3, and 6. So I'm driving from like Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, Central PA down to Baltimore, where the draft was, to the convention center. The morning of the draft, on the phone with my agent. Like it was pretty cool, and kind of let me know beforehand that a couple teams were interested. Philly was pretty interested. It looks like maybe they're making a move. They don't think you'll be around at 6. They maybe like have made that trade to maybe take you at 3. And this whole it was cool for me because at the end of the day, I had to be ready to basically just probably like a week later go to whatever city drafts me and start training and just and see if like it's not really the guaranteed money that other guys get in other drafts where it's like, okay, the minute you get drafted, a couple $100,000 or millions of dollars, it's like some guys don't even have a contract yet until they perform in preseason. So it was a lot of there was a lot of kind of chatter and kind of speculation before it happened, but I never ever expected to go that high. I think even the morning of the draft, then it finally entered my mind maybe I could go top 10. I just didn't want to be the guy that showed up to the draft and didn't get like drafted in the first round. That was just, sitting there the whole time. So yeah, one of the best days I can remember. It was a lot of fun.
Did you ever find yourself stressed about the draft process? Because I know you said before the combine, you may not have went as high. So like before the combine, was there ever like any doubt or stress that crept into your mind?
I don't want to say doubt. I think, as professional athlete, you just always have to back yourself, like always so confident in yourself. Like nothing can even come close to just back of my mind. I'm like, hell yeah, I can do that. Like, yes, I'm going to go, like, I'm going to play professionally. Yes, I'm going to make this pass. Yes, I'm like all the time, positive reinforcement, like doesn't matter. Can't falter. But I would say like, yeah, I was going into the combine. I knew that was going to be important for me. The success that our team had my senior year was really important. I think, a team that's exposed more, seen more, and talked about more is going to, especially defenders, always going to help a defender. And then, yeah, like I said, until the combine happened, like before the combine, talking with my agent, I knew there was interest from teams. So I at least knew I could get a chance in a preseason. But of course, like selfishly, you want that draft experience. You want your name to be called. You want to see a video of it, later. So it was, I try to go into it thinking, all this is like kind of like icing on the cake. Like it's not the end all be all if I don't get drafted. I'm going to get my opportunity. I still have to take it. But of course, like I said, you want that selfishly to, taking higher the better.
For sure.
Do you think your mentality that you have as a pro athlete translates well to golf? Because we talked a little bit earlier about how golf is more of a mental grind out there. So do you think that, backing yourself and having the confidence that you do helps you when you're playing golf?
Yeah, I think, of course, it's, the completely different sports, completely different preparation and what your training week looks like and the physical demand. But at the end of the day, like, they've put in enough hours to be professional in what they're in, and I've put in enough hours to be professional in what I'm in. But you still, you're always playing games with yourself in terms of, I said before that your confidence as an athlete can't falter ever. Like, but it does, like that's what you have to say, like that's part of it. But, you hit a bad shot, like in golf, you blade a wedge over the green. Of course, it's in the back of your mind where you hit the next shot to try and hit the same chip. But I mean, that's like, I don't know. I always like to refer to like the experiences and the preparation that I've put in. Like, I know every time stepping on the field that I've been here before. I've played really well in this league, probably, to be honest, almost against every team now, or even like certain players now. Like, I know that I'm capable of succeeding. So I know how to, I feel like that's all I'm thinking about during the game. I'm tapping into those memories and recalls and like body, muscle memory and little things like that. And I think, yes, like you're standing over a wedge shot, you shank one, you blade one, whatever, it's there on the next shot, but you're so much more tapped into what you're trying to do and how to do it and how you've done it before that, I don't know, It kind of gets pushed to the side.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Not to backtrack to recovery again, but we hear it in the media all the time about like how difficult it is to play in Colorado at the altitude. I know you've been there for a while at this point, but like, do you ever hear from like your opposition, like it's difficult to play in that altitude?
First of all, on the note of altitude, it is so fun to play golf here. You guys got to come if you haven't before. But the breathing is serious. We've found that 50 to 60 minutes into a game, like a team is noticeably the style of play and like the pace of play noticeably changes for them. So we really try to, I don't know, basically like we know that we're going to be the fitter team at the end of the match. And I think that's been really important for us this year. And just continuing to do the things that we think are going to are going to be good tactically against them, and eventually they're going to tire out, and it's really hard to focus when you're tired. So yeah, definitely an advantage here. And even for us, I think like when we have a couple of days off after a game, we come back that first training session, like that first warm up, guys are noticeably more winded before the session starts, which is crazy, but it's definitely, you can definitely feel it.
No, yeah,
You guys-
I've always
go ahead,
wanted
Bob.
I've always wanted to play golf. And I played I went to, I never played golf, but I went to Montana for a wedding. And up there we were at the top of the mountain, and we were I forgot what we were doing. We were doing something, but it was just everyone was so tired, and we were like, what's going on? But I love, because you see in Mexico, obviously, when they play down there, how far the ball goes, and me being a short hitter, that appeals to me. So I definitely love to play. But yeah, do you think that it's a significant advantage being the home team, kind of like how the Broncos always kind of almost have an advantage playing there every week, as opposed to competitors coming from normal altitude to that in a 1 week stretch?
Yeah, I think for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still on us to be the better
Right.
team and kind of make them feel that fatigue. But yes, I think 100%. I think if the game is completely even, going back and forth,
Yeah.
they're going to get tired before we are. It's just
Right.
kind of the nature of it. But it's also individual. I mean, there's certain guys that push through it and can kind of have a higher threshold. Of course, that always is going to vary a little bit, but yeah, it's not easy, because I had also been on the other side where we came from Philadelphia and flew across the country to Denver. And one year we went a little early to give us a couple days to get acclimated. And then another year we came like the day before and just tried to get in, get out. So it's not easy. It kind of sucked.
I
When
had
it comes
another.
to-
Go ahead, Dan.
Jordan. I was just gonna say, when it comes to kind of switching to golf here, but when it comes to golf, do you prefer playing in the altitude, or are you more of a sea level type of guy, I guess?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I grew up obviously sea level East Coast. Not really thinking anything of it, but moving out here at first, it was pretty frustrating. I just couldn't commit to the number in the club, because obviously I had a different association in my mind. Like I would say back home, like, I don't know, 127 was like a really nice number for my pitching wedge. And out here, it's probably like 143. So initially when I came out here, I heard it was 10%, pretty much up and down any club, or even when you talk about like the total yardage for the course. And so in my head, I was like, okay, 130, 10%, 43, 143. But I don't know, there's something even more about it, because it not only like carries farther, but also goes higher. So it definitely takes some getting used to. It's not a perfect conversion. Obviously any slope up and down on a shot combined with some wind, like on top of the elevation, is like, I actually just played today. I played this morning, and not much wind, but a good like 20 to 30, a very downhill shot, 174, and I took a pitching wedge and came up like a yard short. Like, and there was no wind at all. Like, and obviously the elevation, like just from a slope, approach to green perspective, changes that a lot. But it's just kind of being okay with like when a number seems absurd. If you do kind of I don't know, if you're used to it, like you got to commit to it.
Must be tough to commit to those shots too. I mean,
Yeah.
having a 174 and having a pitching wedge in your hand must not look right, but that's crazy.
And for the longest time, it was like, oh wow, I really need to step on this, because in your mind the two don't go together.
Exactly.
But if I just smooth it in there like it should, it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. You guys would love it though. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun to play down there. So in golf, we just had the Ryder Cup, big U.S. win. We were happy to see that. We've seen in the Ryder Cup like how difficult it is to win on the road. I mean, the Americans haven't won in Europe since the three of us have been alive. How would you say home field advantage, not just in Colorado, but like when you guys travel, is it like really tougher to play on the road than it is at home?
Yeah. Traditionally, I don't know what the numbers are exactly, but our league in general is like, if you just like throughout the entire year, if you just put money on the home team, with exceptions of obviously like bottom to top, playing each other, I think you would almost always profit, like pretty considerably. And so for us this year, we've done better than people expected. We've been really solid compared to our recent history. And we've won a fair amount of road games. I think almost as many home games as we've won, which has been really encouraging for us because it's really easy to turn into a different team on the road, to play a little more conservative, to sit back, to not press, to not take as many chances attacking wise. Yeah. Think about the counterattack. Think about what happens when we lose the ball as opposed to what we're doing when we have it. And that sucks because it's not really something you can control. I mean, obviously you think you can, but then you get in the moment and they're, pressing the crap out of you. Everybody's screaming at you and like, you can't make a clear thought. So I think in saying that, comparing it to golf, like the Ryder Cup event and any of those team events is the first time that they ever have people rooting like outwardly against them, loudly against them. Like you go to a normal golf tournament, with your exception of a couple guys on tour, everyone's like saying relatively good things. They're there to watch the athlete like do their thing. And so then you go to an away match they go to Europe for the Ryder Cup and people are like dead set on you failing and letting you know about it and yelling at you, which is what road, away fans are supposed to do, opposing fans are supposed to do. That's the fun of sport. It's like people pay to go to games and they can do what they want within obviously limitations, certain things. But I don't know. I think that's got to be different for a golfer to experience. I think some guys love it and relish it.
Yeah.
But if you haven't experienced it before, it's like it kind of stinks.
Well, sure. How did it change during COVID? I don't really follow the MLS, so I don't know how much you guys even played during COVID. But like, how much did it? If you guys played with no fans, was that the biggest part, or is it what some people say? Is it not sleeping in your own home? Like, what's the biggest factor of playing away that really makes it the toughest difference?
It's tough. To a certain extent, it's obviously everything combined, but I think the crowd plays a part. I think the travel plays a part. And I think maybe just the venue, the comfortability with being a little more confident at home. But I think during COVID, we did a lot of same day travel just to avoid try to not stay in places or to limit interaction with the outside world or not your team. So we would travel the morning of, play the game, and come back that night. All chartered flights, again, to stay out of commercial flights, stay away from people, which was amazing, really cool perk of COVID. But it was a lot. It took its toll on the body for sure, and to be able to, sit on a plane and kind of let the muscles stiffen up for 2 hours and then show up, do your thing just like normal, was a lot to ask. I feel like.
Yeah, going back to the fans, I heard you say fans pay good money to go to the events to see who they want to play. I don't know if you heard in the golf world at the Ryder Cup, the European fans were complaining about American fans like hurling insults, like get in the bunker, get in the water at the European players. Like, what would you say about that?
Yeah, this is interesting, actually.
Yeah, you can clearly tell it takes me a second just to kind of process it, but I don't know. I think a patron has a right. Like the only place I call them patrons is the Masters, but when people are going to pay to watch something, I think they get a certain amount of, I don't know, freedom. Like basically when you go to another sport, they can do verbally, you can do, again, within reason, let's not get ridiculous, but you can do whatever you want. You can, if you're polite about it, and by that I mean you're not completely disrespectful about it, you can say whatever you want to a player. But I think in golf, it just has this aura of being, whoa, we don't clap really loud. We just, golf clap type of stuff. Yeah, exactly. And so, I don't know. I think maybe originating in Europe and European fans maybe see it that way. But I mean, this is the one event that golf kind of does seem like another sport. It does seem like a sporting event rather than, I don't know, like a different spectator event.
Yeah. It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a few rapid fire questions.
Nice.
So what's your favorite course you've ever played?
I think it has to be actually out here. There's a course called Bear Dance, about an hour south of Denver. Right. Really, really cool. Just super in the woods, in the mountains. It's awesome.
Have you played any tour courses?
I played I want to say no, but I played the Trump course at in Palos Verdes, California.
Yeah,
and I
my dad's played
played.
that.
I should have played Aronimink. One of our doctors at the Union at Philadelphia was a member there, and that's actually where they had the BMW Championship in 18. I went to that, but I never did. We never quite sorted it out. But no, I guess is the answer to your question.
Do you have any hole-in-ones?
No, hold out from the fairway from 127, which I thought was just as cool. But I've gotten within
I agree.
I've gotten it within like a foot, maybe 6 inches.
Yeah. And actually, I think I lost my train of thought, so I'll come back.
No worries. Going back to the fans real quick, what would you say is the toughest place to play in the MLS?
We actually just played in Seattle on Sunday. That's usually pretty difficult. I would say Atlanta isn't as good this year, but Atlanta was really good the first 2-3 years they were in the league, and they play in the Falcons Stadium, and they when they want to, like when the fans want to, / a playoff game or a big game, or not like a really bad opponent. I mean, I think they average 50,000, and when they play in the playoffs and stuff, they pack the house. It's like 70, which is pretty cool.
That's got to be pretty intimidating.
What about so? I obviously have never been to a game, but so I've been to Patriots games. If you play the Revolution, how much of that stadium do they fill? Because I've been to Gillette, obviously. I'm not a Patriots fan, but I have been.
So that's the problem with the teams that play in football stadiums. Almost none of them pack it. Atlanta is definitely the exception. But New England doesn't do really well with fans because there are stadiums in Foxborough, and it's like good 40 minutes from Boston.
Yeah.
I think that the stadiums that are most successful are the stadiums that are downtown. Like in soccer, you see a ton of, I don't know if you see this in other sports, but you see like almost a parade of the supporter group, which is like the most passionate fans, season ticket holders, that all go downtown, do their drinking, do their eating, and then just everyone walks one street straight to the stadium. And it's like, it's a thing, like it's like English soccer supporter kind of vibes, which I think is important because it's their life. Like wherever you grow up in England, if you don't support that team, like people are gonna punch you in the face. Like it's just a given. That's just what happens,
Yeah.
And I think that part makes a huge difference. Like in Philadelphia, our stadium was in Chester. That was a good 20 to 30 minutes from Philadelphia. And we did okay. We didn't do bad, but ours was also a soccer specific stadium. So it only held like 18 and a half. And I think that feels way different than when you put 18 in Gillette or in Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, it just looks, exactly.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Oh, so I did remember. So have you ever been to any tour events?
Yeah, only the one I mentioned. So at Aronimink, 2018 BMW Championship. It was actually a Monday finish. Sunday got rained out, and so I was buzzing because I went right from training right to the course.
Absolutely.
And was able to get way closer to Tiger because there were not nearly as many people there, and the weather was bad. So
that was the first year. That was the one Spieth finished in the 30 bubble, right? 31.
Yeah, that was wasn't there a playoff? Was it Keegan Bradley and somebody? I think it was that
maybe Justin Rose.
Yeah,
that kind of sounds right.
Rose. I know Keegan Bradley won. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, I went to the Travelers this year, which is the big 8-hole playoff, and I was really hoping that it would be a Monday finish because even though I would have to drive all the way back in the morning, there would be like nobody there because the course is in the middle of nowhere, and I could like get close to both of the players, and it would be sick. Even if it was just for one hole, I thought it would be really cool, especially since it was summer and stuff, and I could make it happen. But
that's a cool event to be at, though, regardless.
No, Travelers is one of the best events of the year, obviously, in terms of fans. Fans are always really, really great there. So I had a blast, but yeah.
I was at the BMW this year.
Yep.
Which was awesome for the playoff between Bryson and Cantlay. That was
incredible.
Actually,
we got some really good playoffs this year.
Great Something about the BMW. I don't know what it is, but that tournament just it brings out the best. I mean, it is a playoff event, so I mean, obviously, but like the finishes at the BMW are just nuts.
Don't expect much from TPC Southwind next year.
What do you think about the courses that are played on tour, Keegan? Do you have like any critiques of what the tour does?
We do.
I definitely don't get bent out of shape about the guys that talk about them. being too short. I mean,
Agreed.
I don't know. I like seeing a variety of scores. Like I like that we can have a 30 under tournament, but also a U.S. Open that's like 5 or 3. I'm kind of, I have time for both styles of golf. I think I don't know, and maybe that's just because I like golf so much. Like, I can appreciate it no matter what it looks like.
Exactly.
But I don't know. I'm interested to hear, since it sounds like you guys are fired up about something course wise.
No, I mean, yeah, I've always had the opinion that I don't really. The U.S. Open is the one exception where I really like a hard tournament, just because it's the one tournament a year where you like to see that, because the tour never does that. But I've always been a big fan of prioritizing design over like length. Like some of the courses that they play now, like Detroit and TPC Southwind, are really, really boring courses that they play just because they're long enough. I just have never been a big fan of that. I would love to see them go to more courses like Shadow Creek, which even is not the longest course. It's a sick design. I'd love to see them go to like some courses up in the Northwest, like the Moonlight Basin course. The winning score would be 40 under, but I think if you have one of those, and as long as they're cool courses, I think they will draw attention. I don't think anyone's going to be mad about that. If they're 4 drivable par 4s, I think it's cool.
It's all a money thing at the end of the day, too.
It's sponsors, yeah.
It's the unfortunate thing, but we get all the TPC venues just because the tour owns them. So, like, the sad reality is, while we want, or at least you want, Bob, the Northwestern venues, we're just not going to get them because the tour is going to continue to have their TPC venues spotlighted on the calendar every year. But no, I think, Keegan, I agree with you. I like seeing the variety in the scores. I'm kind of with Bob too. The US Open, I think, should be tough just because that's the tradition of the tournament. But I mean, I know you mentioned the Masters it's just awesome.
The Masters can be
traditions. The Masters is so cool is because you can get what DJ shot. You can get 20 under at Augusta, and then you can get 2 under at Augusta.
Yeah, exactly.
That course is it's awesome.
That's easily my favorite venue. Easily my favorite tournament of the year. Everything about it. I'm getting out like the old Tiger Woods video game, playing that about a month before the Masters starts.
It's special. Go ahead, Dan.
How do you rank the majors? Masters 1, and then.
Man, it's like it. I feel like on the surface it's just Masters and then the other 3, but I think
exactly.
I like so many different things about all of them, but I guess I'd say U.S. Open, then British Open, then PGA. I think the U.S. Open just because I'm American and it's basically the idea that anybody can qualify and go win a U.S. Open.
I agree. I really love that about the Opens. I do think you bring up a good point.
Whatever that one movie is with Shia LaBeouf, Greatest Game Ever Played, maybe. It's kind of old, but it's just awesome, like the story movie. That literally anybody can go win the U.S. Open, which is really cool. British Open, I think again it's the tradition, but and it's such a different style. It's obviously not held here. I think that makes it really cool. And then the PGA for me is just kind of, I don't know. I guess I don't maybe know the history enough and know
it's the other one
as good. Yeah,
it just feels like a normal event. I
do think
more money involved.
I do think that the PGA Championship recently has been doing really well. Like they've had some great venues, great like events, great scores, great leaderboards. I think the U.S. Open's kind of been struggling. Winged Foot was not that entertaining, and
they had no fans there, to be fair.
You can say what you want about Torrey Pines. We all know my opinions on Torrey Pines, but I think I'd put the British Open ahead of the U.S. Open. I just think that tournament's so cool because we never see it any other time of year.
Yeah, fair enough.
And actually, speaking of that, do you ever go over to Europe to play any exhibitions, or do you ever maybe want to play over there one day? Because I obviously soccer's a lot bigger over there than here, but
no, I never have. And some teams during their preseason will travel outside the country to train for like a month, get some games against different teams, just get out of the league, really. I haven't been on a team that's done that. We went to Florida for preseason, played MLS teams with the Union, and then we go to like Arizona or California with the Rapids and just stay basically where other MLS teams stay. You all play friendlies and kind of prepare that way. But I had a really good rookie year, and there was some talk of me going to maybe train with some teams, just to kind of maybe drive some interest and maybe have that communicated to the team when I came back, and maybe, create an opportunity or drive up a higher price tag, maybe get me more money, whatever. But that never happened because I basically went straight from the fall season in college, right into the draft, right into preseason. So it was a really long first year. And so my agent kind of advised me not to. And that was really the last real chance. I mean, I think if I would have been involved in some of the US games, I went to two January camps in early 17 and then early 19. But just didn't get selected at the end of the camp to be involved in the friendly, which it is what it is. I always look at the national team stuff as kind of, like I said before, icing on the cake. If I can get involved, great. But there's so many other factors that go into it. Again, as a defender, like, your team needs to do really well in the league to be noticed and to be selected, I think. So
yeah, do you think that's something you really like? Because I know there are a lot of golfers that's where they want to make the Ryder Cup team. Like, they really love representing their country. Is that something because I saw something on your bio when I was looking at it about how I probably just qualified like for the qualifications, like for the US international team. Like, is that something you want to be there someday?
I would love to. I think I've always said that it needs to be, but it should be every player's, dream to play for your
Right.
country, represent your country. I think it's so cool, of course. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. It's different. It's just, that team only gets together so many times per year, and it's always a different group, and it's only a couple games at a time, and it's a really difficult job. And so, I don't downplay that. I think it's hard to do, and yeah, I'd love to, but just kind of have to keep doing what I'm doing and see what happens.
Yes, sir. I have a question for you. So I have a couple friends in college right now who play soccer collegiately, and when they were in their club teams when they were younger, they went over to Europe to like train with some of the like younger clubs over there, I don't know, they have like academies there in Europe for those European teams. And they tell me a big part of why soccer isn't as big as it is in America as it is in Europe is just the money that's put into like academy and like lower level like youth clubs in America isn't as high as it is in Europe. I'd like to hear like your take on that.
Yeah, it's definitely true. It's been around a lot longer. That whole system has just had so much more time to be perfected. Soccer has obviously grown so much in this country recently in the past 25 years, past 30 years, that teams are now investing in their academies, because basically the business side of it is, if I can grow a kid in my academy, then once he signs a pro contract, it doesn't count against the salary cap. And then if he's good enough, I can sell him to a team that will pay millions of dollars for the club and me to profit on. So that's what clubs are starting to figure out. FC Dallas is probably the best at it in the league. But we've seen more and more players get sold from here to make money for the clubs, to do better for themselves, to play at a higher level for themselves. But we're only seeing that now, because in England and in other countries, college isn't really part of the pipeline in soccer and in sports, obviously, or it's just not as big of a culture or thing in other countries like it is here. And that's, I don't know, it's more of an American sports thing. Like, you go to a top college here for any of the other American sports, that's kind of for the most part, you have your exceptions that come out of high school, but that's kind of what word I'm looking for, but that is the pathway, really. And I think soccer is so much different in that I think kids growing up now, like, the ideal way to go pro is to be in the academy of a pro team and then be really good. And just because the amount of money it takes to go to school here is ridiculous. Like, if you don't get a full scholarship, I mean, people can't afford that kind of stuff. So if they can skip that altogether and still get the same end result, kids now, I don't think, are thinking about having a job after their soccer career is over. Like, they're just, they're trying to get there and get there as fast as they can. So yes, long answer to your question is, yeah, I think that is why. And I think another reason is people always talk about like paying to play here. Like, you have to pay so much money in youth soccer to be a part of teams. Like, the top teams cost a lot of money, and there's a privilege with that.
Soccer's definitely growing in the US though, which is awesome to see. I think COVID really, I mean, I myself, I didn't really follow European soccer, the MLS before COVID, but when COVID got here, it shut stuff down. It was on ESPN like every day, which is awesome to see. It's really an awesome game.
I watch the World Cup, and that's basically it. And I started watching. I watched some of the Euro tournament this year just because that's what was, even after COVID. I mean, it just grew in popularity and it was being shown more. I mean, I've never seen as much hype about a soccer event other than the World Cup as much as I did the Euros this year. I mean, it was crazy. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely growing in the United States, but yeah,
it's electric. I've really came to love it. I was watching the Bundesliga when the COVID lockdown happened, which is the German league. It's awesome. And I know you're probably very happy to like see the growth in the United States, because it's a sport that I think the US has really taken just too long to adapt to. I mean, it is the most watched game in the world. There is no tournament, the Super Bowl, anything in the world that is watched more than the World Cup. I mean, I think it's just awesome. The US is starting to slowly catch up to the rest of the world.
Yeah. Do you think that, because this is one of the only sports I feel like, so if you want to list the 6 major sports, you have golf, basketball, hockey, soccer, baseball, and then football. Those are the most watched sports, probably. I mean, obviously got cricket, but in the United States, out of those 6, you can say what you want about golf in Europe, but the only one really that isn't biggest in the United States is soccer. Do you feel like Europe is a different league, or do you just feel like it's a different location? Do you think that the talent's the same? Both sides. I mean, obviously there's no Messi in the MLS, but do you feel like the talent is generally the same?
I would say, I think the short answer is no. I think all of, like, you see a lot of our guys growing up, like the goal for almost all the kids is like, I got to get to a big team in Europe. Like, I got to get to Europe.
That's like a goal. That's a common goal.
I think that's pretty much, because at the end of the day, they pay more. They're involved in Champions League. They have the best players like on each national team. They have the players that win the best players at the end of the year. Like, the World 11 is not including MLS player. You know what I mean? Like, that is, I still think, and will be for, a long time, they're going to be superior. But I think the league as a whole doesn't get quite enough respect.
Yeah.
Just for how difficult it is, because it is different. Like, a lot of guys come over here and they don't understand like the travel demands. Like in England, you're taking maybe at longest an hour flight or a 3-hour bus ride. And you always do that the day before or 2 days before to get in a hotel, get settled, just walk to, like, basically just a couple-minute bus ride to the stadium on game day. Whereas, like, we could go Saturday at home, leave Tuesday to go to New England, which is a 4-hour flight to the East Coast and a 2-hour time difference, and then fly back late Wednesday night, and then leave Saturday for Houston, which is a 2-hour flight, 1-hour time difference, to play Sunday, which is actually what the end of our October looks like, which is a nightmare. But I just take little things like that, and then also the physical demand, like the amount of running we do data wise. When you, like, each player wears a little GPS thing and a heart rate monitor in the back of their, like, that's what the bras are that you see when guys rip off their shirts. And when you look at the data after games, it's really interesting to just see, like, you look at high intensity running and sprinting distance and miles per hour reached or top speed, whatever, distance covered. It's a blow because it is a little more open, and you don't have a really, really top team keeping the ball the whole time and not running as much as the other team because they're defending the whole time. We don't have that as much here. There's a lot of parity, and I think that makes it difficult. I think, there isn't really a top 4 like you see that across the other leagues, top 3, whatever.
So would you see, I'm trying to tie this into golf because that's really what I know best. Would you equate the European tour kind of like to the MLS, whereas the PGA Tour is more like the European leagues? Because I feel like the European Tour has a lot of really good talent. Like, the European Tour, as kind of like the MLS, does not get enough respect. I feel like, say what you want, the European Tour has a ton of golfers that could be competitive on the PGA Tour. But is that how you would kind of equate it? Because I don't really know.
It's actually a really good comparison. I think like everything about it is there except for the money. Probably like the prize money probably isn't nearly as much. The TV coverage, which is money, isn't there. Like, and I think all of that is kind of why you don't see and hear more respect for it. But yeah, I think it's actually spot on.
Yeah.
Going back to the Champions League real quick in Europe, I mean, like the travel, that's like a complete Europe. I follow the Champions League, for example. I mean, they'll have teams that fly from England to Portugal for one match. I mean, that flight, you guys do that literally multiple times a month. As you were saying, I mean, the teams that play in the Premier League, they're taking bus rides or just short flights. I mean, I don't think the travel is talked about for American sports teams compared to what they do over in Europe. It's a lot less, I think, in Europe than it is for you guys.
Yeah, it is interesting. And again, like when you get teammates from all over the world, that's like one of the first things they talk about. I was like, oh, wow, like, what do you mean we have that long of a flight before a game? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, where are we going? You know, so because like they're flying to different countries when they do that. Like 2-hour flight, I think, from England to Portugal. I don't know if it's quite that, maybe 2.5. But yeah, like you said, I mean, we're doing that twice in a week sometimes, let alone a couple times a month and 4 times a month, whatever. But it's because like the other American sports do it and no one bats an eye because that's just, you know, that's how big the country is. That's how you got to get to other teams.
Exactly.
You know, like the way baseball travels is ridiculous. I mean, they're on the road probably, I don't know, half the year, like a total number of days. Like I can't imagine being away from your family and from your home for that amount of time. But so because it's here and it's the norm for American sports, I don't think people talk about it. And then guys that have experienced over there and then come here, they're like, why is this? I didn't even know. Like they have no idea.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I admire the amount that you guys travel. Did you have something you wanted to say, Bob?
Yeah, I want to ask, so speaking of like family and like being away from, if you had the opportunity to play in Europe, obviously putting money aside, because obviously the money's better. And in the end, say what you want, that is the big deal breaker in sports. I mean, if you're going to make more money, you're going to go there. But just in terms of like legacy, I feel like, is that the goal? Is that your goal? Is that where you want to play? Or are you content with playing in the United States?
I think yes. I do think it's a goal, but I also like my I want to say I'm relatively realistic about it also. Like I would be pretty selfish about what I would need from a deal to happen if it was to move out of country and basically kind of uproot my life. Like being out here and having family in Pennsylvania to Colorado, like it is still a 3-hour flight. Like we are detached, you know, from what we knew as home. But I mean, that's language barrier. That's like part-time, you know, that's like part-time visa, work visa. Like
Exactly.
your spouse really can't get a job unless they get a full-time visa. And that's like process money, like years of time. And so I think it would just take, yes, dollar amount, location, maybe language barrier, maybe living situation. Like, are my agent fees paid? Is my housing paid for? Am I getting taxed at the same rate I would back home? Am I getting taxed twice? Like,
yeah, there's a lot.
I don't know. I'm sure. Yeah, it would take a lot. It would take a really good, kind of the perfect storm for sure. But it's just, yeah, I think I might have spoke differently first year or two of my career.
Yeah,
for sure. I know we've talked a lot about golf, but during COVID last year, you became a Twitter phenomenon with your trick shots during quarantine. I know the three of us checked them out. We were pretty amazed. A professional soccer athlete turned trick shot artist. So I just was kind of curious. I know you've been playing golf for a long time now. Like, where did your interest like start with golf?
Man, I don't know. I think I had maybe a couple friends. We would go to a par 3 course growing up, like just a little chip and putt course that was like, think it was like $7. And like just a couple kids in the neighborhood would go down there and we played like as many holes as we could in a summer day or something. I think that's kind of where my interest came. My dad had a set of clubs. We had a pretty big backyard that we could just hit balls like into the woods. And so I had fun doing that. And my dad kind of had a natural enough swing that I was able to see something that I felt like I could kind of emulate with relative ease. And that helps a lot. You know, if you grow up seeing something wrong, like if you're Charles Barkley's son or somebody with a horrible swing son, and that's all you're seeing, like to be able to pull anything from, like, how are you ever going to, find the game easy at first. So, and then as I got older, I got a little more competitive with like a friend in high school. We played a little more often and got focused a little more on scores. And then in college, one of my roommates was really good and more into it. And that's when I started watching a lot more and then just caring about like equipment and like mechanics and like swing speeds and data. And now I'm just like complete nerd. So it's been pretty cool.
I don't know if you probably know this. So Golf Digest ranked you in the top 100 athlete golfers or golfer athletes or whatever it is. That's I think it said you were somewhere around like a 5 handicap. Is that, what are you now? Like, I think this is from like
I haven't played nearly as much this year. I wouldn't put myself at that level. I would say I'm still single digit handicap for sure, but that was when I was playing and belonged to a course back home when I was playing like 2-3 times a week. But
yeah, I mean, that's just, I mean, do you think part of that plays into you just being like a freak athlete? Like, just like, does that really help, or is golf more just like, I mean, you have to work at it just as hard? Because you look at Steph Curry, he probably didn't spend too much time golfing. He probably spent most of his time playing basketball, but he's like a pro golfer. So
yeah, I think what is at the end of the day, I think it's an athlete helps for sure. Athletic ability, hand-eye coordination, flexibility, range of motion, a little bit of competitiveness. But I think we all know a guy that's really competitive that's really bad at golf. Like that's not what does it. You know, being an athlete doesn't do it. But I think like Steph, I think grew up and his dad played a lot. I want to say they belonged to a country club growing up. So I think little things like that, like being around the game, having the ability to play, like just being familiar with the game, like knowing what a swing looks like, knowing little things like that, I think makes all the difference. Like I've put a lot of time in on the range and like looking at my putting stroke and like I've actually tried to change my swing like the past year or two. So I'm actually like actively trying to change things to make everything else as easy as possible, like to make less errors technically. So I think, like I said, athlete for sure, you know, it definitely helps. Athletic ability helps, but I think you got to put time in. I think the amount of reps that you put in is basically the end all be all. Like I went out today and top 2 tee shots on the day, had an 8 on the first hole. And like, those are always going to happen. It's just, I don't know, the amount of time that you put in, the amount of reps that you have, hopefully they happen a lot less frequently.
I kind of think that's like, when you say that's going to happen, like that's coming from a professional athlete. Yeah. Like we're 3 like just average people. I think you, compared to us, you have like a way, like, you know, like in sports, you're going to fail from time to time. So like when you're like an ultra competitor, you're a professional athlete. When you have an 8, you, I think, know how to move on better from that based on past experiences than we do just as like average people.
100%. Yeah.
Mentally, I think it's a really good point, but I also think that like in golf, the average golfer, average amateur, weekend warrior, whatever you want to call them, like as a whole, the expectations are way too high. Like I read something one time, it's like, what do you expect to happen when you show up once a week, once a month, have a couple beers, like don't warm up, don't really exercise? Like, do you expect to be able to hit the middle of the club face all the time? Do you expect to like not make any mistakes? Like, how can in your mind you think that it's going to look good like with no time put in and no, you know, rehearsals and stuff? So don't get me wrong, like what's cool about it is you can train yourself to be a lot better, and there is that capability, but man, it takes a lot to get there.
Well, I would even go a step further, not just like from the weekend warrior standpoint, as you said, where their expectations are too high, but I think even just as like a single digit handicapper like myself. I mean, I just told them before we started, I had a high school match today. I was 1 under through 8, and I 3-putted from 20 feet on the last, shot even, which is pretty good for a 4 handicap. And I walked away head down because I finished with a 3-putt bogey. So it's just like, at the end of the day, there's not really any sport like golf where you always think that you can do better. You always think that there's some shots you left out there. And I think that there's something to be said about how, from past experiences like you had, that can help with that. But golf's kind of a different, I mean, you never have any expectations as high as you do on the golf course. I mean, you always think that you can do one step better when realistically you can't.
I think that's right. And I think I've always talked about golf being so unique because at the end of the round, you immediately have a number that tells you exactly how well you performed on the day.
Exactly.
Like journalists and like data people, analytical people will go do match ratings for soccer or go give a grade performance for, a football player. Obviously, baseball, basketball, a little more numbers oriented. You have a point, you have shots from the field, your shot percentage, or you have an ERA or batting average. But I don't know, like golf, you immediately know, and you basically just have to accept whatever number is there. And I don't know, it's very, very unique. And I don't think people can quite grasp that until they feel the frustration of it.
Yeah.
It's a tough sport. I know all of us know it all too well. But again, like just your mental capacity to make an 8 on the first hole and just like throw it out the window and get the second tee. Whereas Bob 3 putts from 20 feet and he's like, you gotta be kidding. I mean, I admire that. That's just pretty crazy. Like just the mental fortitude that a professional athlete has compared to an average Joe like us.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you guys said average. You said average people before. You're saying average Joe, but maybe average athletically. You guys are great people. Yeah, surely. So.
Well,
thank
you.
It.
I'd like you to go into your trick shots a little more, because I know that like where did that like come? I mean, as a golf fan, I've tried my own share of trick shots, but like where did that interest come from? Just from being stuck in the house, or
a little bit? Yeah, I obviously want to have a club in my hand or be swinging or thinking or doing something with golf for sure anytime I can. And early COVID, throughout COVID, it was kind of hard to know what was allowed and what really should I be doing, and trying to stay as safe as possible and say what you will about that, but obviously a mess. But yeah, I mean, it passed the time. Wife still had a full-time job. She was working from home, so I was trying to stay out of her hair, but at the same time, smashing ping pong balls around the house probably didn't help. But I liked it. Again, it was kind of just a competitive thing. Like I had obviously the time on my hands to be able to sit there and try these things for hours on end, and they were coming off, and some of them were pretty fun. So,
what was your most popular one? How big did? Because I know those things blow up pretty well.
Yeah, I think my biggest regret actually was some guy said I could have really made it on TikTok if I would have put all these on there with all the misses and then, the music. I don't have music build up, but I just I don't have it either. I didn't quite jump in at the right time. But, the one that I hit that goes off a cement pillar in our apartment and then goes straight into the cup. It's laying on like a putting green. That one was probably the most popular. But I mean, I selfishly think there were a lot of good ones in there. But
for sure there were.
There's actually one. Sorry, there's actually one that goes off. There's one that goes off the ceiling. That was never meant to be off the ceiling, but it was really cool.
I saw that one. Yeah. That one was straight in.
They were sick to look at. Yeah. Did they take you a while?
Yeah, I had some that I don't think I ever missed one long enough to put it down and come back to it the next day. But there was one, I think it was at least 4 hours.
As much as I love golf, I do not have the attention span for that.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people do.
I'd be pissed if it took me that long, to be honest. Agree. Besides playing golf, I'm always bragging that I have a blue check mark that follows me on Instagram. How did you get into liking Jordan Spieth?
Yeah.
So I was a big golf fan and kind of a Tiger fan when I really got into watching and paying more attention to golf. But obviously, right when that happened, it was in my college years, like 12, 13, 14. Tiger kind of was away from the game, and I feel like that's right when kind of Spieth started his rise, and so that helped. Spieth became really popular. He's playing really well. Loved his demeanor. Loved how nice of a person he was, but still like so fun to watch on the course. Love the way he provides commentary. Some people hate it because it sounds like it's just his mind is just talking, but as a nerd, as a fan, I like hearing what he sees and what he needs to say. But I signed an Under Armour contract right when I came out of college because of my agent's relationship with some guy, and so that also kind of put me on. I was like, oh, I got to be a fan now.
Love Under Armour.
Love the poster boy. So yeah,
me and I know me and Jordan are indirectly sponsored. We're not getting paid, but we always have the stuff on. We never. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, as long as you look the part, people.
I'm
are
a
gonna
Baltimore guy,
word.
so it's near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome company. But yeah, I think you said it well. There's people that complain about the on-course commentary, and I know the three of us are biased, but he's good for the game.
Absolutely.
He's a class act. He's just, I mean, especially I know Tiger, hopefully he'll get back to playing. I mean, Phil's on his way out. I know he just won the PGA, but Jordan's the face, I think, for the next 15, 20 years. Him, Rory, those two are leading the tour, and I think my opinion for the next 15 to 20 years. They're great for the game.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Do you notice any of like Jordan in your game? Because I feel like the other day I noticed that I had the forward press going and I was taking divots when I chip. And I'm like, man, I have too much of him in my game, and that must be why I suck. Because he does some weird things on the course.
He does some weird
makes him work.
things.
But do you have any like
He's not someone you should want to copy,
or do you yell at the ball or anything like that?
I can catch myself getting a little too talking at like every shot that happens. Like I think optically or from like a fan standpoint, sometimes I don't love all of it. Like somebody that likes golf a lot, like I love to hear all that. But I think like somebody that doesn't care exactly where it hit the ball in the club and where it's spinning and what it could hit and where it could kick, I don't think they need to hear that. Like the guy I got paired up with this morning doesn't care about all that. So I can catch myself doing that. But technically, I don't think anything else. Like mechanically, not really. I actually don't like, one thing I don't like about him is that he twirls the club habitually after every single shot.
Yeah.
I like the guys that leave the twirls for the absolutely incredible shots, but it's a habit clearly for him. That's just like it's just something he does all the time. But
yeah. Anybody you feel like your game kind of emulates? Like you feel like a good wedge player, a good driver, or iron player?
I'm pretty long for an amateur. Doesn't hurt being out here. That definitely helps. But so the thing I've been trying to change about my swing is it kind of looks like Daniel Berger going back. It's a little laid off, and aesthetically, I can't stand it. I look at it, I'm like, God, it looks terrible. Like I don't like Berger makes it work. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, still really good. Had a really good couple of years, but I want to get my hands higher. I don't want to roll my wrists after the takeaway as much. It gets so flat. And so I've been doing a lot of different drills, but kind of with my butt against the wall, trying not to let the club head hit the wall up and through the top, because my action from the top is absolutely perfect. I'm really happy with it. So in my head, all I need to do is just change like whatever those positions are called, like 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And I'll be like on plane and perfect. But
I mean,
I don't even know what the question was to start with. What was it?
It's just like
whose game does it emulate? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess aesthetically maybe Berger, which really sucks. I don't like that. But other than that, gameplay wise, I don't know. I feel like
what's your
I don't
strength?
I don't think I'm nearly good enough to be able to compare myself to
I guess.
I mean, do you take 50 minutes to line up a putt?
No, I'm definitely not
Okay,
slow.
so
I'm
you're
definitely
not
fast.
Berger then.
I'd like to say I'm close. I actually got a huge compliment one time that I was really similar to Ricky Fowler. I think it was because I was wearing like a backwards flat brim. Like it was a pretty casual day, and maybe a little laid off at the top.
Yeah.
But that was after a good shot, so maybe that's why too.
Well, I mean, again, I feel like I mean, I have one of the ugliest swings I've ever seen. Like I throw up when I watch it. But again, like if it works, it works. Like
For sure.
you can't really go based on aesthetics. I mean, if you work with a coach and you're doing everything he tells you to do and you're hitting all the points, that's really all that matters. Who cares what it looks like if the ball's going in the hole? So it all depends.
That's why golf's awesome. There's just so many different ways you can get the ball in the hole, so many different ways. It's just whereas, I mean, there's just certain techniques that you use in other sports. Golf, you can do it a multitude of different types of ways.
I'll tell you one thing that kind of reminded me of Jordan this morning was just some of he's got a little fill in him for a wild hole every now and then. Like he just loves himself like an absolutely ridiculous par. I had 2 of those today. So the first one was 426-yard par 4, took a 4-iron because it was kind of narrow. Like almost topped it. I bladed it, but I almost topped it. That's how high I was in the ball. Barely gets to the fairway, 286 left of the pin. Take an absolutely perfect hybrid, get it on like barely on the green by like a couple of yards, and have like a 60-foot putt uphill, sidewinding all over the shop, and leave myself like 6 feet short. Not notoriously a really solid putter inside 8 to 10 feet, but I drained it and it was very happy with the par. Obviously, from there,
I
286 hybrid.
I stopped listening after 286 hybrid.
No. It probably went like 255, and that's an elevation which is probably like 230 at sea level.
That's still crazy. Yeah. How far do you hit your driver? You said you were long, but
out here, like, man, average like right around 300, probably like right around 305. Yeah, it's great. Nice. It's like I feel like I have the same numbers as all the guys, but I'm obviously playing way shorter courses with the elevation.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's about all we got, unless Dan or Bob, you guys have anything else.
No, this has been awesome.
Yeah, you gave us a lot of time. Thank you.
Not a problem. I get fired up about obviously sports and golf and very technical golf talk as well. So it's happy to do this. Anytime you guys want to talk, I'm happy to do it. It's fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the 3 of us really appreciate it. And yeah, we just wish you the best of luck the rest of your season.
Absolutely. We'll be following along now.
For sure.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you guys.
We're looking forward to it. Go Rapids.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't have any other team. Yeah, so yeah, go Rapids.
Go Rapids, baby.
Yeah, where are you guys from? Maybe you should be supporting the local team then.
Yeah. So I'm from Massachusetts. Okay. So that would be the Revolution. I don't know.
What part of Massachusetts?
I'm from Worcester.
Oh wow. Okay, my wife grew up in Westford.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So right around there. Do you guys play the Revolution a lot, or you guys? They're probably the Eastern Conference.
They are, and because of COVID, we only travel to the East 3 times. We actually play them at the end of October. So if you actually want to come, I can get you tickets for sure.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I've never been to a soccer game, so
I think it's
you gotta go now.
Gotta go.
27th or 28th of October, I think.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, we're planning to. When do we have? We plan to release this the 26th, so yeah, that would be right around then.
I think that's when it is. Yeah, it's pretty close to it.
Yeah.
You guys played. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I'd totally be down. I'm
in Baltimore. Do you guys play DC United?
We did in the beginning of 2020. It'll be interesting because I think the schedule will go back a little bit to normal after this year and normal travel and stuff. So if that's the case, I think we would play all Western teams twice, and then like Eastern Conference teams once before it gets to be too many because we only play 34 games. So,
yeah,
gotcha.
But yeah, maybe for sure. Same offer goes to both the other guys too. So
yeah, I'm near Detroit, so I don't know. I don't think they have a team, do they? It might be Columbus.
Yeah, how far is that?
It's like 3 hours or so.
Cincinnati's not closer, right?
Cincinnati, it's about the same.
Yeah, that would probably be the closest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be cool though.
Yeah, I'll be in touch. I'd certainly be down to come. I've never been to a soccer game, so yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah, sounds good. And like I said, anything else, just let me know. Happy to help any way I can.
Yeah, great. Thank you, man.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. You guys have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, you too.
Peace.
Best of luck.